Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time, Jesus came to Jericho and intended to pass through the town. Now a man there named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector and also a wealthy man, was seeking to see who Jesus was. But he could not see him because of the crowd, for he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree in order to see Jesus, who was about to pass that way. When he reached the place, Jesus looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today I must stay at your house." And he came down quickly and received him with joy. When they saw all this, they began to grumble, saying, "He has gone to stay at the house of a sinner?" But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give it to the poor, and if I have extorted anything from anyone, I shall repay it 4 times over." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a descendant of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what was lost." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
A few weeks ago, the priest and I decided to talk about stewardship of time and talent. And I don't remember which Mass I had said it at, so I'm saying it at all the Masses. I'm preaching at all 6 of them today. And remember, the analogy I used was if you had a child or a grandchild in a burning house and you couldn't go in to save your child's life, but a firefighter was able to save your child or grandchild's life, how thankful would you be? Like, there's no words, right? No words to describe your thankfulness. And so today's homily is exactly focusing on that thankfulness, that spirit of attitude of gratitude for Jesus Christ, for allowing us to participate in his lifestyle, which is his family, which is the Trinity. He gave you the gift of faith so that you can be saved, so that you wouldn't go to the other place. That, to me, is how thankful I would be when I see Jesus, when I get to heaven. This, like if I had lost a child that was saved in a burning house that was mine. So with that, keep that in mind as I talk about the following things. Once a year, I come, last 3 years, I have talked about our Hope Holy Offertory Plan for everybody. It is our operational finances to help make sure things go, the lights are on, and so forth. And for those who are here for the very first time, I want you to know I only do this once a year. So don't go back to your pastor saying all they do at Sacred Heart is talk about money, because it's not true. One thing I've noticed here at our parish is that the love of Jesus Christ and for the church has increased over the last 3 years. And the reason why I know that is the following reasons. We have become a more generous parish. We have new and more people volunteering, and our collections are up, like almost $300,000 in the last 3 years. And what I'm about to tell you is some things you did not know that was going on, but you responded anyways. And I think one of the main reasons why we have an increase of love of Jesus Christ is because of our Light of the World. Light of the World, no matter what parish it goes to throughout the United States, they've always said that there's going to be an increase of stewardship of time, treasure, and talent. And that has happened here at Sacred Heart. And I wouldn't have believed it. You know, they always tell you stuff, right? The sales pitch part. But it's true. The love of Christ you guys have responded to that. We want to become a full stewardship parish. Now, what does that mean? From the financial point of view, that means that 10% of the collection would go to charities throughout the Prescott, Arizona, and beyond areas. Now, what I'm about to tell you is just the tip of the iceberg of what we give. One thing I have noticed, last year we brought in $1.6 million, so we'll just take that number. So of that 1.6, we should have given away $160,000. Now when you look at our second collections and the monies that we actually give to charities throughout the year, we grossed basically around $60,000, which is about 3.75% of the 10%. Now here's the funny part. We actually doubled that in the last 3 years. We were at 1% as a parish to charities throughout the year. Now we've almost tripled it. And so that's a direct response to you. And the funny thing is, you didn't know we had increased our stewardship. I'm going to give you an example. These are just a sample of who we give to right now. St. Vincent de Paul, Prescott. St. Vincent de Paul, St. Mark's in Phoenix, which is one of the poorest parishes in the diocese. Catholic Charities, Habitat for Humanity. First Way Pregnancy Center, Life Connections, and Priests for Life. People Who Care, People in Poverty, Multiple Sclerosis Association. Our Claretian Missions in Mexico and India. The Prescott Area Shelter for the Homeless. And Operation Zero, which has housing for people who are homeless when the weather is below 25. And that is just a taste. They told me, Father, you can't put everybody on there. You're going to bore your people to death. So I didn't want to do that. But I want you to know that we've increased. And it's interesting. Since we increased our stewardship, our collection increased, and you really weren't aware of this. We wanted to be more transparent to you, the parishioner, to know that we're not hoarding anything, that we are actually trying to be more generous. Our goal is to be more generous than God. Good luck with that. We asked you 3 years ago to go online and give online. Well, when we first started, we were maybe like $3,500 per week. We're at $8,100, and it might even be more per week because you went online. 29% of our families are now giving online, and I can't tell you enough how much money and time it saves us when you go online. Now, I know not everybody is on a computer. I know that. But for those who have internet and do have a computer, our goal is to get 50% of our parishioners to give online. Because when you do that, you save us money and save God money and save the church money so we can actually do more ministries. Wherever we can save time and money, we are going to do that. But it's up to you. And I know it takes a computer and a little talking through to set it up, but once you do that, you give us the freedom to do more for our community and for our parish, for the school and beyond. Right now, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is next weekend when you receive your commitment cards for you to fill them out. Because last year we had such a poor turnout of returning the cards, of giving us an account of how much we're going to bring in this year, that it took us way longer to figure out the budget because we were guessing way more than we should have. And so for us to be efficient and to be good stewards of God's money here at Sacred Heart, it is imperative that every parishioner, no matter, even if you registered last year, imperative to tell us how much you're going to give next year so we can figure out the budget, so we're not guessing and we're wasting money in areas that we don't need to and giving money where we just need to know that. It took us way too long last year to figure out the budget, which means more man hours, which means more employee time, which means wasted money. So we want to save money by being more efficient and being more savvy and smart on what we're doing. So again, I mentioned this the last two masses, and sure enough, somebody said, do I have to fill out the card? Yes. Fill it out and bring it in there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the capital campaign in a second. Now let me be a little bit practical here. In the Old Testament, I've mentioned it before, in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8, what was happening was the Israelites, the Jews, we're not giving God the top 10%. Now, God deserves the best. I think nobody would disagree with that. And so when God told the Israelites, I want the top 10, the cream of the crop, we always give God the best of our best. And then the 90% is ours. So what happened was the Jews were robbing God of their tithe, of their stewardship. And God got ticked. And I don't blame him. Because what you're saying to God is, you're not worth my top 10%. And I would never want to say that to God to his face. Like, you know what? For all you've done for me, I'm just going to give you my leftovers. I would not want to do that to God. And so God says, you are robbing me of my tithe. And he says, test me on this. And God said that we can test him on his generosity. And I've seen it here at the parish. Because the more we've been giving away, the more that's been coming back. So I know that God cannot be outgiven. He is the most generous being in the universe. And when we're faithful to him, he is faithful to us. So in the Diocese of Wichita, Kansas, has an interesting, they're the only stewardship diocese in the whole United States, and have been doing it for 30 years. 8% of the gross person's income would go to the parish, and 2% would go to second collections and whatever charities that you want to give to. I know for a fact that not everyone can start doing that, then that's all right. Our goal is to reach towards that. So whatever you do this year, if you increase that generosity to God, do so. If every family does that, and we see it on the paper when you turn in your cards, you will give us a lot more freedom to do what's necessary. We are expanding so much in our ministry that we are now physically unable to put more people to work in our office. We're actually having people work in closets. We call it cloffice. We have to expand. We're growing, so it's non-negotiable. We have to figure out a way to do that, and only you can help us do that. Another announcement: there are no longer going to be any fundraisers for our parish. We're not going to nickel and dime you anymore because we don't want your nickels and dimes. We've had fundraisers for like Knights of Columbus and other groups that do things for things that are outside our parish budget. And we had fundraisers for us, all of us who went to World Youth Day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for our parish per se. Our Heritage Weekend was so successful. Everybody had a great time, and it didn't cost the parish any money. We charged only that which was at cost, and we made costs and made a few extra dollars. So because our social events are going to be social events, they're not going to be fundraisers. And so we purposely did that. When we looked at how much it was going to cost, we said, well, how much will it cost? That's it, and that's what we charged. And guess what? We had a great time, and we didn't lose any money, and everybody was happy. And so that's why fundraising is out. Tithing is in, stewardship is in. And all parishes that do that, all of them have all success stories when they focus on stewardship and not fundraising for pet projects and so forth. Starting November 1st, this is very important. Starting November 1st, we will no longer have second collection envelopes in the pews. Okay, so somebody's happy. Thanks, Mom. $10 off the top is going to the second collection or the charity that we're getting money for that week. 10% off. I'll tell you right now, our bookkeepers are going to love it. That means this: if you write a check for the second collection, whatever it ends up being, or whatever the cause, that money will go to the second collection, to that charity. If you go online and you click Peter's Pence and you give a certain amount, that money will go to Peter's Pence. What we're trying to do now is eliminate the profound headache of second collection. Parishes that actually give off the top 10% to other organizations show not only an increase in collection, but also a generosity among the people. So from now on, when we announce the week before and the day of the second collection, just remember that that money, so if you want to throw extra in there, go ahead, because 10% off the top will be going to that charity. And if you write a check or go online, that money will go to, we're not going to rob a charity. I don't want that on my soul. Finally, Commitment Weekend is next weekend, November 5th and 6th. Take that card when you receive it this week. Fill it out. It's imperative that you fill it out and drop it off in the collection basket so that we can do an accurate budget instead of us being blind and trying to figure out how much we're going to make. Because once we know that, we can actually save money by being very, very accurate about what you're going to give. I cannot emphasize that enough. Even if you filled it out last year, do it again this year so we can have a hard number. Is that clear as mud? Okay, good. Capital campaign. We're only about $400,000 away of getting 1.5 so we can get permission from the diocese to remodel the church. We're so close. We're not even a year into this. We're almost a year. It will be a year in a couple days. We brought in $1.1 million in 8 months, which is almost 52% of what we need. And I'll tell you right now, our capital campaign advisor told us explicitly that we're in the top 10% of capital campaigns in the United States because most parishes and churches only get 40%. In the first year, we were over 52% in 8 months. And that's because it's very clear to me you want this church remodeled. But we need the extra. So if you're going to give, if you haven't given this year or haven't signed up, give now, and then you can give in January in the year 2017, and we can push ourselves over the 1.5 so we can get the permission from the bishop, and so we can move forward. We can do small stuff right now, like the elevator and the stained glass windows and the doors and stuff, but we really would like to now get the permission from the bishop so we can get the bid so we can get this place remodeled. And I'm pretty sure that's what you want, correct? Okay, so react. One more thing. Sorry it's long, but you're going to like this one. November 2nd, 2:30 p.m. in this church, we are going to have a budget presentation. It's our way of being more transparent so you can see where the monies are going. You can ask any question. The only question we cannot answer legally is what people make specifically. We could just tell you generic what the cost is for salaries and so forth. But you can ask any question. And the reason why we're doing it here in the church is because I want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. So if I say we're going to go to the St. Anthony room, which holds like 20 people, what I'm saying there is only 20 of you matter. No, we're using the church for a reason. We want everyone to feel welcome to ask any questions. Our finance council members will be here, maybe some pastoral council members, and you can ask any question. Because this is actually a public corporation, and I'm your president. That's one of my legal titles now. I just found out when I was signing these, said, what? Well, I'm a president now? How did that happen? So, because our parish is its own corporation. We are not part of a big diocese corporation. We're legally our own corporation. And then on November 3rd, we're going to repeat it at 6:30 p.m. For those of you who work, we wanted to make sure that those who work can also ask questions. And this is our way of being more transparent and more communicative about what we do here with the finances, or God's finances. I want to thank you very much for your response. I also want you to realize that do not think of this as a business. I want you to think of this is how God works at Sacred Heart. That we are actually truly thankful for what he does for us. And that we respond to that gratitude that you are not part of the unchosen. That you are chosen by Jesus Christ to be a part of his family. And how you would respond to that. So when you're filling out your numbers, you just say, you know what? I want to thank Jesus for the gift he gave me, which is my salvation itself. And do not think of Sacred Heart as a business, because we're not a business. All we do is offer salvation for all those people of God. I thank you for your generosity in the past, and I thank you for your generosity in the future. And may God bless you all. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.